All right, everyone, welcome to Season 1, Episode 8, Something in the Wild. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and I'm here, very special guest in a very special place. This is Coal Run Creek, or just Coal Run.
Maybe just Coal Run.
Maybe just Coal Run. And I'm with Jaclynn Toki.
Toki.
Is that
Yeah.
Toki? Okay. All right. Well, Jaclynn, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on here. This is my first, like I just told her, my first subject expert. So you got you got a very high expectation. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Be yourself. Yeah, right now we're in Forbes State Park here. Takes up around 59,000 acres, over 15 tracts of land for Forbes Park. So like that 59,000 acres is spread out over 15 different places, which is pretty cool, I think. Bunch of different stuff, like the highest point in PA is in Forbes State Park. Do you know that?
Yeah, what's it called?
Mount.
Don't tell me. I know this.
All right.
I was just talking about it the other day.
Were you?
Yeah. Oh, I don't remember. You gotta tell me.
I don't even know what it is.
I think maybe it's just High Point or something.
Yeah, something like that. It doesn't matter too much. If you want, you can look it up. There's a real high overlook, I know.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Fire tower.
Yes, the fire lookout. And then there's the Blue Hole swimming hole. Have you ever been there?
I have not.
Okay.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Yeah, I've seen like in the fall especially, like swirls and like there's a bunch of leaves in it. It's pretty cool. And then obviously right here, Coal Run Falls is where we're at right now. So Jaclynn, you're a field scientist currently, and I actually looked this up on your LinkedIn. So,
oh no, I was trying to update this. It's terrible.
So you're a field scientist working for Skelly and Loy.
Yes.
Right? You guys are what is it? Like a wild or a like consultant, outdoor consultant?
Yeah, an environmental consulting firm.
Okay.
And we just got, a while ago they got bought out by Terracon, which is like a nationwide company.
Oh, really?
They do a lot of like oil rigs and drilling, stuff like that.
Okay.
But we're like a smaller environmental company.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit more, later here. But you also were a former wildlife management intern for the PA Game Commission, and that's kind of where I want to start off here. After I introduce you even more, because you're currently getting your master's in wildlife and fisheries resources at Clemson.
Yes.
I'm assuming remote.
Yes.
How's that going?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work trying to balance both, school and then work, and then there's also labs, so then I have to go out on my own and do a lot of stuff too. But it's really interesting to like finally be able to take what I'm learning and then use it in the field. So it's pretty cool. Okay, yeah, very cool.
So a lot of the stuff that you specialize or that you have done in the past, worked with in the past, herpetology, herps.
Yep.
Like salamanders.
Yep. The study of amphibians and reptiles.
And reptiles. Yeah, cool. Flying squirrels. So I was looking into that a little bit. Like you did like the acoustics for like the frequencies that they like emit, I guess.
Yeah,
whenever they're flying around, and it like helps you locate them, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we can go into that now, or if you.
No. We're gonna
wait.
We still got more introductions, right? So you also worked with black bears, bird banding for doves, correct?
Yep, doves, kestrels. I did some goose banding and duck banding with the Game Commission as well.
Man, that's awesome. And then fisheries management, bat research, the list goes on and on. So you kind of know your stuff a little bit. So hopefully we can dive in here. But first, I want to start back into how you kind of got into the outdoors, and why you chose the career path that you chose. Like, who sparked your interest in the outdoors, and why are you so like passionate about it?
Yeah, for sure. So that would have to be my dad. He's like, I aspire to be him. He is probably the best outdoorsman I know. From a young age, we were always outside. He was always taking us on hikes. If we couldn't walk, he had us in the backpack.
Cool.
He'd pick up a salamander. He'd show us a salamander. So from a very young age, I was always outside. So yeah, like I said, he is my biggest inspiration, I think. And I currently work with him actually, which we can get into. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd have to be my dad. That's sort of how it all started. I wasn't sure at first if I wanted to get into ecology when I was going to school, or if I wanted to do like athletic training. But then I was just like, I really like what my dad does every day. He's outside every day, working in beautiful areas, like seeing beautiful streams like this one today. You never know what you're going to see, and I think that's awesome. So
yeah, and not to mention like the wildlife that you'd be able, like that, I feel like the more time you spend outside, the cooler stuff you see.
Yes.
So like,
For
yeah,
sure.
that's really, really cool. Did you like what was his thought process, I guess? Like, did he just enjoy spending time outside? I guess it's his professional work, so like...
Yeah, so he was sort of the same way. So my grandfather actually was game warden for the Game Commission, a volunteer way back in the day when they still had volunteers. I don't think they have as many now, but... So, I mean, he grew up hunting, he grew up fishing, so that's where it really started for him, I think, just playing outside every day. And he worked for the Fish and Boat Commission first, actually, for a few years. And what they have is like 3-year terms, and then it either gets renewed or it doesn't based off of the money they have. So unfortunately, he did apply for like another 3-year contract, but because he didn't have a master's and someone else did, they chose a person with the master's. Just sort of why I'm like, okay, if I want to work for the state or federal agency, I should go get my master's. But so his was sort of the same, just he enjoyed hunting, fishing, and loved the outdoors.
Yeah. So. What does he like the most? I know you might not be able to answer, but what does he like the most about what he does, like his job and professional?
I think probably being outside every day. It is kind of rewarding too at the end of the day if you know you're working on like a bridge project or something and there's a species that could be impacted. Doing your part, doing the work on that to ensure that there are no impacts or there are minimal impacts. I think that's a cool thing to know, that you have a part in conserving wildlife.
That's absolutely huge. I'm sure it's super rewarding for you as well. Like, what kind of stuff are you doing right now, and like with your current role?
Yeah, so right now we're working, and I can't say too much about like where it is because we do work with the Department of Highways, so it's sort of like government work. Yeah. But we're working on a highway project, a big highway project, and we're doing currently a lot of flying squirrel acoustics and salamander surveys for the endangered sheep mountain salamander. So that's where we're at now. We have a lot of bridge projects as well that involve wetland and stream delineations, and then some of the bridges bats will actually use for nesting sites, so we have to look at those too. And then PRT surveys, which is same thing, nesting sites for bats in the trees. We have to look at certain trees that we think they could be using, and we flag them off. So that's about it, though. Yeah. A little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So like, there's not really one. Do you guys have like specific areas that you specialize in? Like specific, I guess. Or, I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing everything, but like, is there something that you really key in on, or is it just like a very broad?
Yeah, it's sort of broad. We have one guy in our office that is like our botanist. He's our certified botanist for, one plant species in like West Virginia. He's certified to look for. And then my dad at one time, he did a lot of bat mist netting and handling of bats. So we have some people that, sort of have like their own niche. But yeah, the youngsters get thrown into everything all at once. And it can be overwhelming, but because of my background with the Game Commission, I think I tend to like the flying squirrels. And then I just always like salamanders, so that's sort of how I got into that. And yeah, so cool. I try to get my foot into everything, because I think the more you understand about all aspects of wildlife and the ecosystem, the better you understand it. So
yeah. Well, you brought it up right there. Talk a little bit more about the Game Commission and what you did for them.
Yeah. So my junior year, or after my junior year of undergrad, I applied for that position for the North Central region. So I had to actually get an apartment out in Penn State.
Oh, cool.
And I guess what they originally do, which I didn't know this when I applied, but they pick each intern to sort of like tackle their own project. And they put me on the flying squirrel one, so I got to work with the head biologist, wildlife biologist there that took charge of that. And I was actually sent out on my own a lot, which was probably not allowed, probably dangerous, because I didn't know where I was. Like a lot of the other kids were from that area, so they knew. But so that was like my project that I sort of took on the whole summer. So I got to learn how to set up all the loggers, how to run the software to listen to all the calls, how to put them up, where to put them up. They had spots, from previous years, and it was sort of, I just followed that map of where everything was. But then I also did a lot of bear trapping as well, which was really awesome.
Did you do that by yourself?
No, definitely not. If you want me to talk about that though too.
No. We'll get into that.
There's
definitely.
Just so much,
there is so much that we gotta cover here. Yeah. So talk about this flying squirrel stuff a little bit, because I don't think, at least like personally, I did probably about like 30 minutes of looking into it, and it seems very complicated. So like explain why, like how acoustics plays into locating flying squirrels and why it's such a challenge to locate flying squirrels, what the purpose is for all that.
So they are a small mammal, and I believe in Pennsylvania, I think they are endangered still. I'd have to look that up.
I think they are. I think they are, yeah.
So it's hard to, find them, and when you do, you don't really want to handle them, you don't want to stress them out. So they use acoustics, in order to say, okay, is there a flying squirrel in this area? Like a presence-absence survey type of thing. So yeah, they emit ultrasonic vocalizations between like 40 and 50 kilohertz, and humans, we can only hear up to like 20 kilohertz. So that's why we need the loggers. So we set them up. They like a hemlock, spruce forest, because there's actually a fungus they feed on, like a mycorrhizal. It's getting real nerdy here.
No, keep it going.
On the hemlock and spruce trees.
Okay.
So that's why they like that type of like mesic, wet environment. So most of our loggers are in forest stands, mature forest stands of that nature. What we did at the Game Commission was pretty similar to what we do now at work. We use bat mistnet poles, and we hoist.
What are those?
They're like these skinny rods that they all fit together, and they like, one by one, you can, like Legos or something, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, they go in together. We use 4 of them.
And they're like nets, so they like, you like install them and like you're like catching.
Yeah, for bats, we'll do that for bats.
Okay.
I haven't done that yet, but that's how I know the protocol works for bats. But we just use the poles and we stack them up on top of each other.
Okay.
And then we hoist the mic at the top with a zip tie. We kind of like, made our own little janky setup. It works though.
Yeah.
And we have a logger from Wildlife Acoustics that we put on the tree then. And in that we can put a bunch of parameters that say, what kilohertz we want to record something at. And that runs then, it will go off 30 minutes before sunset and then 30 minutes after sunset. And it runs for that whole time, and it picks up vocalizations. And then after that, you take the cards out and we download them onto the computer and then listen to it in a software called Kaleidoscope. There's also Sonobat that people use. That's what I use at the Game Commission. And basically you just sit and you just click all day on your computer and you listen to a bunch of calls. And I before I came here, I was like, I need to, video record of what the squirrel actually sounds like. So if you'd like to hear it,
play that. That's really cool. And so you're using this information to locate them, but like, how are you locating them? Like, are you just like figuring out the general area that they're in? Or can you like actually like pinpoint where the sound's coming from?
Yeah, you can't pinpoint it. I think the range that they can get sound, the loggers, is like 100 meters, I think is the distance that it can record. I guess they say usually anything that you can probably hear, it can also hear, and maybe a little better.
Yeah.
So it's sort of just like, okay, we know they're in this area, and then the next step would be doing trapping or maybe setting up nest boxes and seeing if they ever get used by any squirrels.
Okay.
And the only other thing then you can do is tell whether you have a northern flying squirrel or southern. Because a lot of people are like, oh, like I have flying squirrels, but it's usually southern because they're more, there's more of them. There's not as many northern flying squirrels. But, so I do have both, so I can show you what both sound like.
Let's hear it. Get that thing nice and close.
So, the northern flying squirrel is going to be like very fast trills is what they call them.
Okay.
So I guess this is another thing I'll explain too. Because it's ultrasonic, when we listen to it in the software, we have to do like a time expansion mode to like draw it out.
Because the frequencies are so close together, like the.
Yep. Okay. So we have to draw the frequencies out so we can actually hear what it sounds like to them. If not, it just sounds like a bird chirping.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay.
So that would be the northern flying squirrel. Very fast.
That's what you're looking for.
Yes. So that's what we're looking for while we're out there. Mm-hmm. And then the southern has like a longer trill. And you can actually see the trills. Like, I'll have to show you later. I guess you can't really show the people. But let's see if this is a good one. My fingers don't want to work.
It's a little cold out here. We came out. It's very wet. It was like literally like driving through soup, the fog on the way up here.
Okay, so here's the southern. Oh. Okay, that one's really quiet. Let's try a different one.
Oh, okay.
A lot longer of a trill.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yes. So you can kind of tell the difference between the two when you're looking at it, because the southern will have like 3 trills for like 500 milliseconds. And then the northern will have like 5 trills or more per 500 milliseconds. So
okay, so that's like half of a second.
Yeah.
Half of a second. Mm-hmm. Do we have someone?
I think I saw. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's really cool. So like the southern, like what's the range of the southern versus the northern ones then? Like do they inhabit the same range, or like is it more spread out?
Yeah, southerns, from what I understand, they're sort of everywhere. They don't really have one habitat that they like. Like I think they're more like northern hardwood.
So I really screwed up here. I forgot extra batteries, and our batteries for our mixer died for the microphones in the headphones. So from this point forward, everything's gonna be, well, I'll let myself explain it. But stay tuned, because this is still great content, still great information. And Jaclynn, she's an awesome source. So make sure you keep paying attention here. We're not using this anymore because our battery died and it's just not working. So that's really upsetting. But I thought it was full whenever I left the house. Whatever. I'll be better next time. All right. So southern versus northern zones. You're saying that the southern one prefers deciduous.
Yep, lower elevations, but anywhere really.
Warmer temperatures.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it's not like an elevation type thing, or not a latitude type thing.
Not really for the southern. For the northern, they're usually like higher elevation.
Okay.
Those spruce hemlock forests.
Okay. So getting back on track with the acoustics, with what you're trying to find. So you're setting up these microphones, picking up these noises and stuff. What are you doing with that data whenever you get it? Like how are you managing the project so that you don't have, like, you're not interfering with their habitat? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so all that information is, if we find or northerns, I was gonna say southerns. If we find northerns for the project I'm working on now, our next step is to then do some trapping there, hopefully, once we get notice to proceed on that. And then we can actually solidify, like, okay, yes, we heard calls, we have positive calls in this area. Okay, now we're gonna do some trapping. Will we actually trap some? And then hopefully we can use that. It's not endangered anymore where I'm working, so it's since been delisted. So I don't think it will really change the project, but then we can track when the project is going on, when the road is being built. Okay, have these squirrels moved? Are they in a different location now? Because we know of some like travel corridors that we have that they're close to, which we're getting calls in. So we're going to be able to see like where they move during the project and even after. Okay. So it's going to be good for just population data too if we continue trapping. Yeah. Do you see them moving? Like you say travel corridors, immediately what comes to mind for me is like elk and like mule deer where they're traveling really long distances. Is that the case with them too, or is it just more short distances? Yeah, it's more short distances, but a lot of the area that I work in has been timbered and logged, and they were in one area and now they're in like another area that's closer. So I think if they have to, they will find ways to move. Not necessarily as far as, you know, an elk or something would travel, but probably far enough that you'd be like, oh, like a flying squirrel, I didn't think they would travel that far if they have to, you know, to get to habitat. Okay. If not, if they're stuck in like an isolated section of a, you know, hemlock stand, they may just be stuck there, and then that could be bad too with crossbreeding and it's genetic.
So you get like a concentrated population that's like bad news.
Yeah.
How do you avoid that?
Well, you could try to mitigate and try to take some of that logging habitat and, you know, create new habitat or other isolated pockets that they can travel to. You really need that travel corridor for them to move in and out through their little pockets of habitat, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I guess the reason I ask, I'm sure you're fully aware, like human development has been like spreading out and stuff. It's like a huge problem for this kind of stuff, right? How does that would we consider like a flying squirrel like an indicator species for like habitat health? Would you consider that an indicator species?
Definitely. I think especially the northern, if you have northerns and like have you ever been to like Forbes State Forest?
Yeah.
How beautiful like the hemlock and spruce stands are up there. That would be like, there's probably northerns up there, and that would be a good indicator that, you know, that is like the best quality habitat that you can have. So for sure, since they are such like a specialized species, definitely they'd be a good indicator.
Okay. With like hemlocks and stuff, so I know like oak trees and oak forests, they require a lot of things to be like successful, like including fire. Is those hemlock type forests, are they the same way where they could be threatened because there's not like a specific activity that's taking place?
Not that I know of. I know they need a moist environment, especially for the squirrel, for that fungus to grow too. So really, like if you do log around an area, that sunlight that's going to come in is going to really dry it out. So you really need like that moist, dense environment.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that we covered the squirrels pretty good.
Yes.
Let's move into something else that you had did with the Game Commission. Tell me about like the black bear studies.
Yeah.
What was that like? That is so cool to me.
Yeah.
Like trapping, and like you had the picture of you holding the black bear. I'm assuming that was alive.
Yes, it was. Yeah. It was like, tranquilized, obviously, but
you're like holding it up. Like that's probably so cool.
Yeah. So that was awesome. And the North Central region is like huge on bear. Like there's a lot of bear hunters up there. It's like a traditional thing, from what I learned. I think more than like around this area, like Somerset County, that I know of at least. So that was really cool. They have their own bear biologist that took us out, and I actually got to work with him, and then another guy that had been an intern there for several years. So he like knew everything there was about bears, and he was doing his master's on some kind of bear like in Wyoming. I don't know if it was a black bear or something else in some other state.
One specific bear.
Yeah, he was working with some bear up there. Yeah. So I mean, that was awesome. So I don't know, you want me to explain like the whole process of that? Yeah. So most of our traps were set in the sprout.
Well, I guess explain what the goal was, and then the process behind it.
Yeah. So the goal, what they do every year is they monitor the bear populations. They tag bears. And then they do have the problem bears, of course, too, like that come into the cities or the towns that they have to tranquilize and then send back. But it's basically for population, to manage the population, since, you know, people are hunting bears. So most of the traps were on the Sproul State Forest, which from my understanding is like the best place. Like if you want to go see a bear, go there.
Yeah.
And I did actually, other than trapping, like we would see them all the time, like running around up there. Yeah.
Were you like just in the woods, like walking trails and stuff, and you see them around?
Yeah.
What season?
That was in the summer.
In the summertime?
Yeah. Yeah.
You think they're more active in the summer usually?
Yeah.
Like, well, I know they're like very inactive in the winter.
Yeah.
So you just see them like hiking around and stuff?
Yeah, we saw a lot, and they're so smart. So like they know where the traps are, because they put them in the same spots too, because it's just easier for convenience and getting the traps in there. I mean, they're huge. But they're so smart that, so the way the trap works, I don't know if you've ever seen like a big bear trap.
Are you guys using the like the big cylindrical ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has like a door that it basically, like if you pull on the levee on the inside, the door shuts and then the bear is trapped in there. So what we do is like we put a big heavy rock anchored to like the levee. It's like basically like the levee then is how it works. And we put a bunch of like graham crackers and all this other stuff, like all these goodies that it's gonna like. And it comes in and it paws at it and the door shuts. But some of them are so smart, they know that if they keep their back leg out and do that, they can eat everything and the door will fall on their back leg, which is heavy, like it would probably break your fingers.
Yeah.
But they, you know, it doesn't hurt them.
They
can get away, so they know how to do that. So another thing that we did is we would have like a really large rock that we'd put treats under too. And if the rock was flipped, you knew that a bear was there. It just was probably smart enough or didn't want to go in the trap. So that's how that all worked. And then when we did find a bear, the hardest part was probably you had to like look at it and be like, okay, that weighs 300 pounds, which I was terrible at first because you have to know how much to, you know, by its weight, how much drugs are you going to give it.
Yeah.
So we gave it, I think it's like ketamine and xylazine or something it was called. I forget. 2 drugs. One puts it under, and then the one you give it after you're done doing everything on it, and it wakes it back up. It's like a reversal drug.
No.
So you have to, you know, figure out how much it weighs. And usually, like, they would just quiz us, and then they would obviously tell us how much, which you get better at. And then we'd use a dart gun, which was pretty cool.
Oh,
so yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
so like pneumatic or like air power, like an air gun.
Yeah. So we learned how to, you know, draw out the drugs, put it in the little dart syringe type thing, and then shoot it at the bear, which was also hard sometimes because they're like really aggravated while they're in there, and you have to put it through like the little holes, but you can't, you know, put it too far or else the bear like tries to, you know, jab at it, and then you have to get it, like shoot it right in the shoulder sort of, which is hard because they're moving around and like their head's usually swaying a lot, so that was pretty hard, but it was awesome to do that, to just like, I don't know, it was like nerve-wracking at first because they look so cute in there. They're like a little, like a big puppy.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, like, you know, I'm like, oh, I have to juggle this poor thing, and it doesn't even know it's coming.
Yeah.
But so we did all that, and then it takes a little bit, but eventually falls asleep, and you just like tap on the cage and, you know, make sure the bear is out.
Okay.
And we have to pull it out of the trap. And then what we do is we would take a blood sample and then pull a tooth, because you can age them by their teeth. And then you tattoo them on their lip, which is also really hard. They all get like a number that's the same on their tag, so they know what bear it is. And
why do they do both? Just like in case one falls off?
Yeah, and the tattooing's really hard. I don't know how many. I think they probably told us at one point, but I'm pretty sure the tags stay in for a while. But the tattooing, I guess, doesn't wear off if you do a good enough job. And that way, like if someone does come in with, like if you would shoot a bear and then you take it to a bear check station, they know like, okay, this is bear, whatever, was this old when we trapped it. Yeah, so they can manage the health too a little bit too with the blood.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much it. We weighed it. That was a whole nother thing because we had like a bar that we all had to get on each side and like push it up and hold up the bear if we didn't have like a truck or something. So that was like an experience too.
How many people?
2 on each side. Usually we had like 4 people there.
And you guys get it out there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, they're not, like everyone's all like, oh, bears are so cute. They're smelly. Their hair is like really coarse. Yeah. They always got like poop on them or something.
Yeah.
They were always pretty, I mean, they're stuck in there too. When you check the trap, you don't know how long they've been in there, but.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much it. We would wake them up and then they'd wake up and we'd make sure they, you know, got off and they were good.
Yeah.
So they're pretty resilient. You
did
did all, I mean, you tattooed them, you took their blood, you had to lift them up and weigh them, pull them out of the trap, like you did all of that, and they walk off and they're fine. It's pretty crazy.
That is crazy. So like, since you're so close to that, like what can you say about like the population health of black bears in PA? Like upward, downward trend?
I would say an upward trend.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Like the amount of bears I saw we did see cubs a few times with the mom. But I would say there's definitely a good upward trend, despite like how big it was up there too. Like everyone was like, no, it is like a tradition. Bear hunting was a tradition up there. Like it's huge. So I would say it's pretty good. I mean, they catch bears there all the time, every year. So
yeah.
But like I said, some of them are smart. They know like how to go in the trap, not set it off, and then sometimes you get raccoons too. We had that happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. A raccoon could lift a rock off. Like, how heavy is this rock?
Usually they're pretty big.
Yeah.
But the one time we did get raccoons, there was like 6 of them, and they were all like up against the walls of the trap. It was so funny. I'll have to show you the picture later.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh man, so yeah, that's really interesting. And the reason I asked that, so I know a lot of states around the country, like specifically talking about black bears, like they'll have hunting seasons where they can hunt with dogs. They'll have baiting seasons for bears where you can bait for them and stuff like that. And they use that as more of a technique to like keep numbers down. Do you think that Pennsylvania would ever get to the point where they have too many black bears to like they're way too many getting in trouble and stuff? Do you think that would ever become a case, like become a
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Like from what I understood, it was like a really, because I've never gone bear hunting. My dad's never gone, that I know of at least. I don't really know many people in this area. But up north where most of the bear population is, it seems like it's like a huge thing and people get bears every year. So I'd say right now I think it's a pretty steady. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Because I always get a bear tag, and I've only ever seen one with a rifle in my hand, and it was out of season. I was deer hunting, and then I saw another one, and I was like squirrel hunting. So I had like a shotgun. Yeah. And it was just like standing there. They are crazy. Like they are so cool.
I don't know if I could ever shoot one, just because like after working with them, just like you said, they're so cool to see, and it's just
yeah, and it's like it's a management tool a lot of the time. I don't know. Like it's so tough for me. I don't know how I would feel.
Yeah.
If I were to shoot one, I definitely like would like to get a bear at some point.
For sure.
But it's just like all about like my mentality whenever I see it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't want to be like you want to be comfortable with it, I guess.
Yeah.
So that is really cool that you're like working so closely. And like, was it weird at all, like being able to like hold like a live bear?
It was. And at one point too, we must have like sort of under-drugged, I guess, the one bear. And it wasn't going to wake up on us, but like it was moving around a lot. Oh. And you're like trying to pull its tooth in your hands in its mouth. So like, you never know. But it was, I don't know, it was pretty cool. And they even let my dad come like for a weekend to check traps. And of course we didn't find any bears, but they were pretty lenient with it. They want to teach people more, which is, awesome. So
yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like nowadays people are less involved in the outdoors and like don't know much about it anymore.
Yeah.
What does the Game Commission do to combat that? Like, what are some of their initiatives? Do you know, like, of anything that they're trying to do right now?
I know they have an education program. I've never really looked into that, but I know they do a lot, like, volunteer stuff. It's sort of like if you know someone, then you can kind of, tag along, sort of like my dad did.
Yeah.
They do have a lot. I think the North Central region just did, like, some kind of little booth at some kind of, I don't know if it was like a hunting, because they just had one of the shows in like Eastern PA, one of the hunting.
Yes, they had the Great Outdoor Show.
Yes, I think they had booths and stuff like that there. A lot of outreach, I think they try to do.
And that's good. I know that I always see stuff on their website about like content creation, and they're like hiring more people to like take videos and stuff, and I think that's the way you got to reach out to like the younger people, like younger generations, because like obviously everyone's on their phone, so it's like that's like like if you're gonna resonate with someone that's younger, that's the way to do it. Just like show them that it's like, this is sick, this is really cool stuff that they're doing. So that's awesome. Now we're talking about like the Game Commission here. What did you guys do, and why did you pick up an interest in herpetology? Like, why was that? Like, I feel like it's so random, but like I'm curious to like.
Yeah, it is, because I went from like my internship working with game and non-game species, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, these little small amphibians.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just growing up, I just remember my dad always flipping over rocks and logs and like, oh, look at the salamander, guys.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, it's so cute. And I think really this year, I took a herpetology class in undergrad, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then one year I did research on the eastern hellbender, and that is like my dream, is to sort of work with the eastern hellbender at some point. Maybe.
Work with the eastern hellbender?
Yeah, I've never seen one yet.
Oh, you haven't seen one?
No.
I've never seen one either.
Yeah,
like,
and you fish a lot though, and they usually say fishermen, are the ones seeing them a lot.
Really big, right?
Yeah.
Like how big, for like people that don't know, describe an eastern hellbender.
Oh, they call it like lasagna. It sometimes has like lasagna sides because it's like wrinkly. Wavy. Yeah, like a big brown salamander. It's just huge. I mean, it can get like this big. I don't know, is that like a foot or more? So they're slimy. They're fully aquatic. So
they spend
all their time in water. Yeah. But yeah, they can get big. They're kind of ugly looking, but I think they're cute. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I would be freaked out if I saw one, I think. For like at first I'd be like, holy shit, what is that? but yeah, that's awesome. Why? So they're obviously endangered, right?
Yeah.
In this area. Is there anywhere that they're more common? I'm assuming like Appalachia is like their kind of home range.
Yep.
Like, could you speak on that a little bit?
From what I understand, I think the population is very small throughout most of Appalachia. And I think it's because of like a lot of the mining and timbering affecting their habitats and the quality of the water. And that's pretty much all I know on that. I tried reaching out to some people on Instagram actually. Yeah. And like, hey, like, do you, there's this one place in Kentucky, I think, that does husbandry, and then they reintroduce populations, but they don't even take volunteers. So I was like, oh, that would have been neat. But there's people that do that, you know, because there is a really small population. So, and I think it's throughout all Appalachia.
I know you're probably wondering, why in the heck are you seeing me here again? I'll explain it very briefly. I am still, in fact, an idiot. Battery on the camera died, so I had to plug in my external power source, which should have been plugged in from the beginning. I know we missed a little bit there. She was talking about hellbenders, salamanders. We talked a little bit more about salamanders, a bunch of great stuff that I wish I got on video, and I'm still kicking myself for it. But now we're going to go into the banding work that she had done in the past. So keep watching, stay tuned here.
You mentioned like you're really interested in like owls and birds and stuff like that, banding. What did you guys do like for your banding projects with, like, you worked with doves, right? Was there any other species that you worked with?
Yeah, so I worked with doves, and then I did geese, which was interesting, and duck banding, as well as kestrel banding. So I don't know if you want me to just pick one and go from there.
Yeah. What was that last one?
Kestrels.
Kestrels.
Yeah, it's like a small falcon that likes field habitat, meadow habitat.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we did with those was they have like a bunch of nest boxes they have up for them that they monitor each year, and we actually would take like an endoscope and a paint pole, and we would stick it in the nest boxes, and we would see if there was eggs, and we count how many eggs. So we did like a whole survey on that for every nest box they had.
Okay.
And then once the eggs were hatched, we went in and we took the chicks out, and we would band the chicks. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like sort of the same thing. They're just managing their population. It's not really a game species, but it's like a smaller bird species that I don't think it's endangered or anything. I just think
good information to have.
Yeah, it's a good bird to keep around. I think it eats a lot of rodents and
it keeps that population down. That's good. I'm kind of interested in like your duck banding stuff, like geese and duck banding. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Were you able to like collect? Well, go ahead. You explain it.
So the goose banding. Well, the duck banding I'll explain first, because I got to do it once, but they have like the traps out in a stream in the water, or like a little river, and they put a bunch of feed in the water, and they fly in. They can't get, or they don't fly in. They like wade, I guess, in the water underneath the trap, and then they can't get back out once they're in there. So then we'd go check the traps like every day, and then we just take them out and we banned them, and that was pretty much it. We never really did anything else for the ducks. But the geese, we had like known areas where they would like all sit, because you know when you're driving on the road, you see most of the times they're like all together. So it was like the week we did that, it was like a whole effort with everyone in the game commission from the North Central region, and even like the other regions. They would come, and we would basically like go up to all these geese, and we would corral them in with like this fencing that we're all holding, because you know they're pretty mean, like they're his and stuff, but they can't fly right now. Well, and I think it was like June when we did it. They can't fly because their feathers are molting. Really? Yeah. I mean, they can sort of like take off, but they can't really go up in the air and fly away. So that's why we did it then. I think it was in June, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so we kind of like corralled them in, and then there are a bunch of people standing around the fences, and then there's a bunch of people inside, and you have to pick up the goose and like pick up the bird. You usually like hold its wings down, but since they have a long neck, you had to like take their neck and bend it and put it under their wings, and you had to like flip them over like a football, put them between your legs so you could try to sex the bird, which was so difficult. And they tried to teach us how to do it like right there on a whim when you're in a cage with like all these geese. The poop's everywhere. And then once you're done, you like hand it over to someone else, and you're like, okay, this is a female, and they would take it to the line and they'd band it, and then you let them go. And that's because, you know, people hunt the Canadian geese around here. So
how do you go about sexing a bird? Like, what are you looking for on their wings or what?
It's like the private parts of the bird, and I couldn't even tell you because it was so hard to see and tell the difference between the male and the female. I don't know, maybe a difference in size between the two is the only thing I could think of, like looking at just like looking at the bird.
But so you can't like tell from like just visual.
No, not for the goose. Yeah, you have to like flip it over and then actually look. And I don't even remember what it was because I couldn't get it. At one point I would just like hold the bird and someone else would look because it was just so difficult, and you have to do it fast because they're all in there like running around and
oh my gosh, it's probably chaos.
It was funny. We had one goose that when we put it down, it never took its head back out under its wing, and then it went into the water. And everyone was like, oh my God, it's going to drown. And I was like, it's probably going to be fine. Like, it will get its head out. So we had a bunch of people like get in kayaks from the game commission and like get in the water then to go like check on this goose. It was like this whole big ordeal. And I just thought it was hilarious. So I was like, it's probably going to be fine. And then it was. It ended up getting its head unstuck. But
it was stuck under its head?
Under its wing,
so
it didn't want to get out, I guess.
That's funny.
Stuck under there.
Well, that's like how they sleep, right? It's probably taking a nap.
Yeah.
It's like sleeping right there.
It waddled off. It knew how to get to the water, so. But.
Hey, I mean, my parents grew up on like a little pond. So we had geese like in our yard every single freaking day from summer to winter, like 365 days a year. There's always geese.
Their poop is terrible too.
Poop is just everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Are you guys working on like that population? Those are like resident geese. Like they live there. I'm assuming that the geese that you're working on are flying.
Yeah, with the game commission. Yeah, they're the Canadian geese, so they'll go back to Canada.
Yeah,
and then come back in the summer.
Where's the craziest part? Because I know like whenever you shoot a banded bird, you can like call the hotline, they'll tell you where the bird was from. Where's the craziest like experience you had? Like did you have access to that information?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just had to input where it was coming from, and
I was just the one that was like, all right, corral the geese, band the geese, and then let them go.
Yeah, so. That's funny. I saw, or I heard this story this one time from this guy. He was goose hunting, and he shot a goose, and he was like, it had a band on it, and he like called to see like what the band, like where the geese came from, and like they banded it like 200 yards away from where he was at. So it was like flew like all the way up north, came back down, and like same exact spot. Do you find that they come back to the same exact spot usually?
You know, I don't know what they told us. They probably did. I feel like they probably do. They probably stick in their groups too. Yeah. And then
because they got
same spot every year because they knew where they were gonna be. Like they were like, okay, we go to this spot, and they're usually here, and we go to this spot, and they know that there's gonna be like you know, like 50 of them there that day. Yeah. So
that's really cool. Anything else you did with the game commission you want to talk about?
Oh, the dove banding was like another bird.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So that one I had to like drive. And again, I was by myself too, driving around. And most of the time, if there was like gravel in anyone's property, I had to be like, hey, can I put a dove trap on your gravel? Because they like gravel for some reason. They like to like...
It's for their crop.
Yeah.
So they like eat the little pieces and then like grinds up in their stomach?
Yeah, so we'd like put corn down under a trap. And it's sort of the same thing. They can get in, but they can't get back out. So I had to like go and I set up a bunch of traps and I had to like map where they all were. And then next day I'd have to check all the traps. And then if there were doves there, we would band them and then just let them go. Sort of same thing. Of course, we'd like write down what number the band is and everything for all the birds, but it's sort of a more simpler process than like the bear and stuff like that.
Yeah. Did you ever get like injured, like pecked?
No, but the one time there was a few, I think there was like 2 or 3 in one of the traps, and I felt terrible because they were like flying around like all scared, and their wings kept hitting the like metal of the trap, and a few of them had like bloody wings. They were fine, but it was just like it cut them up a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, oh, we gotta get these guys out of here. Like, I don't want them getting too stressed out.
Yeah. That's interesting. You would just drive around to people's houses, knock on their doors, and
yeah, a lot of Amish people. They let us just they didn't care.
Okay.
Yeah, and then of course the game lands. Like I was at Scotia near Penn State. I don't know if you know where that is. The Scotia Barrens.
I've never been up there, but
yeah, there's like. It's a pretty big game lands. I think there's a shooting range, but that's where like my truck was that I got every day. So I had like a few traps there because it was close. But yeah, basically anywhere there was gravel or power lines, they'd be like, if you see a dove, put a trap there. And I'm like, okay.
Really?
It was kind of funny like that. I was like, all right, it seems like there should be more, but that's really all it was. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Were you trying like, because there's like pigeons and then there's doves, like, was it hard to tell them apart? Like, I feel like doves usually are like in like more rural areas.
Yeah.
Compared to pigeons.
And I was in like the north central region was so rural that I don't think I ever had any pigeons.
Yeah.
Other than if I was like at a farm sometimes, but I don't think I had any actually. I think I always had doves. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. You ever have any like negative experiences asking people to plant traps?
Yeah, the one time there was like this little Amish store, and I had asked them if I could put one in their driveway, and they told me the guy in the back owns it. So I had to go to and I was with someone that day, luckily, because I told them like I didn't feel comfortable. Just me too, just being a girl, like I don't know.
Yeah.
So we went back to this guy's house, and I'm glad I brought my coworker that day because he was there, and this like grumpy old man comes out, and he's like, well, you know, my dog runs around the property, and I'm like, oh no, like we don't know that, like can we just put the dove trap here or not? And he was kind of mean, so that was probably like the worst experience. He's a little creepy.
Yeah,
but thankfully I wasn't alone that day. So
yeah. Speaking of like women in like the outdoor industry and like conservation officers, stuff like that, do you see that like what do you see like the projections of that being like as a woman yourself in that sort of arena? Like what are your thoughts on that, and like what do you see the
growth of it?
Projection, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more women I think in the field. I see a lot more women like as game wardens or working for like the Fish and Boat Commission, but yeah, it's definitely grown. But I think like I know at one time I wanted to be a game warden, and my dad was kind of like, oh, I don't know if you want to do that just because it's, you know, scary being alone. Not that he didn't think I couldn't, but him just being a dad, he's like, I don't want my daughter doing that. I want him to be safe, you know. But
yeah.
I think it's grown. I think that's awesome. I mean, I think it's usually like a male-dominated field, which is fine. But I think everyone's usually accepting. There's not like, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's.
Yeah, I can see where your dad's coming. I mean, like you're dealing with like angry, or hopefully not angry, but like you're dealing with people with like weapons and firearms and stuff like that out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
so I can
sometimes alone.
Yes. Yeah. So I can see where he's coming from, but I think that it is good to get that, like, to make it, you know, more of a priority, I guess.
Yeah, I think the people that do well in this field too are the ones that like. And this might, I don't want to try to like judge anyone either or anything, but the people that, like you and I, that enjoy it other than just this was my major. Like, I like to go hunting. I like to go fishing. I think those people are the ones that, like, excel most and have a better understanding, or, like, have more of a grit, like women, too, that are game wardens. Like, it takes a lot of, you know, of grit and stuff, too, rather than, like, talking to someone, you know, or going up to someone being like, hey, like, you're not supposed to be doing this, and them getting mad, like you said. Like, it's different coming from, like, a male to male than a woman telling another male that. So I think but the people that understand it more and have just, like, more of that grit, I think they do better in the field, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you see people in that sort of profession, male or female or whatever, do you see them being, like, really into their work? I feel like, just like from my thought process is, like, you see, like, police officers sometimes, like, they're not, like, super into their work. They're just like, oh, I've been doing it for so long, you know, it's just what I do.
Yeah.
Do you see, like, more of a commitment there? I'm sure there's ends to the spectrum, but, like, you mind talking on that?
Yeah, I think even my time at the Game Commission, like, I met a lot of different people. Like, I met game wardens, I met, you know, other biologists and other people that had different roles, and, like, everyone was super passionate about the Game Commission, about all wildlife. So definitely, I think, you know, that makes a big difference, and I think it helps. And then I also think sometimes, too, there's, like, I don't know, people that just want to do research, or people that just care about, like, one species. And then I know in college there are a lot of people that, like, they hate hunting, but they don't realize that it's, like, a form of conservation. And if you're working in this field, if you want, like, hunters are probably, and fishermen are probably the best naturalists there are out there. Like, they're going to probably know more than a person that went to school for 4 years. You know what I mean? They can understand the outdoors better and nature. They just know more about it because they spend time in it. So I think, to your point, like, those people that are just, you know, they really enjoy it, they're the ones that end up, I don't know, they're more passionate about it.
Yeah. Do better, and
whereas,
like, last longer. And,
like, some of the people I went to school with, it's like you smush a spider and they're like, oh my God. And, you know, like I said, they don't like hunting, but it's like, okay, well, you need it. If we don't control populations, like, the species that they're studying you may care about, it's going to dwindle, you know what I mean? Like, so that, I don't know, it's like, it's hard too, because you're going to have that always, people that don't like it and think it's, like, animal abuse or whatever, but it is a way of life, and I think it's, like, an art that is kind of going away, but also I see coming back more, which is awesome.
Do you see it coming back more?
I think so. Like, I think, I don't know, just on social media, I don't know if that's just because they post things on purpose to see, you know.
It's, like, your algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm. But I think it is. I think more people are more understanding of it, and I don't know, after COVID, I think everyone wants to have, like, a homestead and wants to, like, live off the land. Because, like, I know I have always wanted that, but now I want it more. But I think it is, like, a lost art, and I do think I see it coming back, which is good, because...
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up.
That's what this earth is here for.
I'm
to provide for us, and we need to provide for it, too. Which, to your point earlier, we were talking about, like, everyone just wanting to build things and infrastructure. That needs to be controlled, too. I think... like, we're very selfish as humans. We always want more. Whereas if everyone could just be like, okay, I'll take this small house with, like, 10 acres and I'll have my own farm and live off that, it'd be much easier, and live off the land than having all, you know, these big rural area, or not rural, urban areas. And I don't know. I don't like the city, so I just, like...
No, I'm the same way. And Sammy and I are you know, trying to live more sustainably, and I talk about this a lot, just, like, sustainable living practices, limiting waste, things like that. And to your point, I mean, I think it is becoming more popular, and I don't think, like, I think people they want that lifestyle, but they don't know how to get that lifestyle. Because it is complicated. I mean, if you're trying to raise animals or livestock and you have no idea what you're doing, it's, like, tough. It's challenging. Like, we're learning right now. Like, we're trying to start our garden. And, it is tough. Like, half of our seeds aren't growing, and we're like, what the heck are we doing wrong? You know. So it's it's interesting, and I'm very intrigued that you brought that up and you think that it is growing, because like I think that's very important for like the health, you know, of the ecosystem. Not to mention like the funding that comes from hunters and anglers.
Oh my gosh,
like,
yes.
So much money. That's how you fund your research and all that stuff. So you should explain that to the people that don't like hunting.
Yeah, seriously. It definitely, like you said, it funds their research. So, and it's crazy. That's what I had to deal with at school. Not that there's anything wrong with those people. They were all very nice, but it's like, you know, they didn't want to listen to you, and that's frustrating because, you know. Yeah,
there's just not a lot of education around it, I think.
There isn't.
Depending on your upbringing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everyone at some point came from a hunter background.
Yeah.
you know, however far back you have to go. It was at one point you were a hunter gatherer, like sustainable living type lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really interesting that you brought that up. So I guess my final question that I want to ask, what's next? Like, what are you expecting in the future? Like, what are your goals for your career? You sticking with it? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, so that's sort of like, I don't know, hard for me now because Braxton and I are going to be getting married.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to travel with him. So I might try to go more remote. But I think my dream, regardless of like, not saying he's not in the picture, but like if I had a dream, I think it would be to go back and work for like the Game Commission or the Fish and Boat Commission or some kind of state or federal agency. Yeah. That would be like my dream job. I like consulting, but it's a lot of like take-home work. I travel a lot, so it's a lot more stress and just, I don't know, it is a lot more work. Whereas like not the Game Commission isn't, but it's, I don't know, it's simple. It's a little more simple, the stuff that's done there. You don't have to deal with like the Army Corps of Engineers and permitting and a bunch of other, other stuff that comes with consulting. So that would probably be my dream. But the route I see my life going now is, I want to really try to bring like my social media page and get better at like wildlife photography. Yeah. And my sister is actually really good at graphic design. So her and I were even thinking of like combining and doing something just to like promote like that extra education, like we were saying, that people lack. And then doing more hunting stuff too. Like I'm sort of getting back into hunting because when I played sports growing up, I had like no time to really get out there. So now I've been going out with my dad and like learning more, and I want to get more involved and want to shoot my bow more, stuff like that. So I think maybe that's where I see myself moving. It's like more of like a hobby, but still, I don't know, a lifestyle. Like it's going to be my lifestyle either way if I'm going to work in the field or if I'm going to work remote. Yeah. So it's sort of like hard right now to navigate that, but that's where I'm at.
It is, but it's like it's the growth and change. Like the only constant is change, like in life. Yeah. So but that's great that's your priority and that's what you want to do. I mean, I think being able to work for yourself and being able to be flexible with your time. Yeah. If you can make money off of Instagram, if you can make money off of, I don't know, making videos or photography, I mean, I think it's huge, and it gives you that freedom to be able to travel. You can work from wherever. So that's awesome. I'm so happy like to hear that that's like your goal. Like that's kind of the same thing that I'm trying to do, just like build my brand a little bit and see what happens.
And it gives you more time to like, I know there's so many like things I'm interested in, and it's like, okay, if I am working remote or if I'm doing this, I may have more time to like band more owls and get certified to do that. Where if I'm like working full time in the field, I may not have time to do that. So I think there's so many like opportunities and volunteer opportunities and ways to like get your foot in the door in like nonprofits that may be like another option that will open up for me, that I can sort of like come, I don't know, have like a spot at a nonprofit or something like that. Yeah. Learning about anything really. There's so much to learn. So
there's so much to learn. That's right. Well, yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I guarantee you this won't be the last time we talk. I got your save the date, October 5th. We'll be there.
Yeah, we'll have to get Braxton in the video.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we will, we'll reconnect. We'll reconnect here soon. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
I'll link your Instagram here and check it out. What is it?
Toki Outdoors, I think.
Toki Outdoors. All right.
Where I kind of just like talk about what I've been doing at work and mention some cool species if I see anything.
Yeah.
Mostly salamanders. But
yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course. That was awesome.